All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. For those of you who've just joined us, my name is Joanne Casley, and I will be your MC for today's webcast. I'm a business development manager here at GSI, and I am very pleased to introduce our presenter for today, John Bassett. John is Executive Vice President of Managed Services as well as Chief Technology Officer here at GSI, and he is also one of our co-founders. John has over 30 years of experience with JD Edwards, and prior to co-founding GSI, he worked at JD Edwards. He has extensive experience managing the technical side of implementations, upgrades, and various projects. John's very well known in the industry and is a regular presenter at conferences such as Collaborate, as well as on our webcast. Before we get started today, I wanted to give everyone the opportunity to review our safe harbor statement and provide you a quick agenda for today's webcast, which should last about 45 to 55 minutes. First, we'll go over a couple of quick housekeeping items. Then I'll provide a brief company overview before turning it over to John for the main presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll go over our upcoming educational events and wrap up with a Q&A session. If you would like to submit a question during the webcast, you can do so through the questions panel, which is located at the bottom of the GoToWebinar console window, which should be on the right side of your screen. Please note that we do address all questions at the end of the presentation. If you want to minimize your GoToWebinar console during the presentation, just click that red right-facing arrow key on the top left of the console. And now for a brief overview of GSI. GSI is a full-service cloud project consulting and managed services organization that was founded in 2004, and we now have offices nationwide with a global reach. We've been recognized twice on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest-growing companies in the U.S. GSI is an Oracle Platinum partner, NetSuite solutions provider, Salesforce consulting partner, and MSP partner for several cloud and hosting services. GSI specializes in software implementation, project and business consulting, managed services, and cloud and hosting services. And all of our services are backed with our 100% guarantee. We are also a forward-thinking product development company that has many popular products, including Genius for advanced monitoring and performance analytics, Genesis for load, stress, and regression testing for system design, validation, or expansion. Both of these solutions can be used with any web-based business-critical system. We have G Shield, which is GSI's two-factor authentication and password reset solution for JD Edwards, Rapid Approval, an enhanced user experience for Salesforce, making it easier to process high volume of workflow approval requests and time and expense approvals. JDE Cloud 9, GSI's private hosting solution for JD Edwards. And finally, Rapid Reconciler, which is GSI's Oracle validated tool for inventory in transit and receive not vouchered reconciliation. And Rapid Reconciler can be used with any version of JD Edwards World or E1. Now I would like to turn things over to John for our main presentation.
Well, hi, Joanne. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Let me see if I can figure out how to get this to display on that screen. All right. Can you see my slide?
Yes, but I can also see the next slide next to it.
Oh, you're seeing the
presenter mode, I think.
Hold on, let's see. I got to show the right screen here. There, how's that?
Yep, now we're good.
That's the right screen? Okay, thank you. Thanks. Thanks everybody for joining today's webcast, how to select the right JDE Cloud hosted service for your ERP system. Now it's GSI, as Joanne mentioned, is a JD Edwards Enterprise One, but our what I'm talking about here today kind of applies not just to JD Edwards, but it applies to basically any on-prem solution with emphasis on ERP. So today we'll talk, just do a brief introduction. Why is cloud important? We'll talk about some different infrastructure opportunities and show you some of the advantages and disadvantages. So there are several options for your E1 system and hosting it. And I'd say at the top level, you have to understand the difference between a pure cloud company and a managed hosting provider. And we'll talk about a couple of each of those. A pure cloud solution would be something like Azure, AWS, Oracle Cloud, and a pure, they don't by default provide services to you. You can get them, but if you go with a cloud hosting provider, they're a little smaller type of company, but they provide you with all of the services. They provide you with the infrastructure, but they also provide you with the intrusion detection and other security options. They provide you with load balancing solutions, and they do a lot of that for you. The monitoring, they take care of for you. Whereas if you go with the pure cloud option, there's a good chance that you're on your own. So there are several reasons here that you would look into this. One would be corporate growth. If your company's growing and maybe it's growing a little bit faster than what your IT can keep up, allow your IT team to focus on strategic initiatives like perhaps rolling out a new network infrastructure, and basically let somebody else handle the day-to-day activities. Scalability, cloud solutions do scale very rapidly because of pre-purchased architecture. Enhanced security, we'll talk a little about security options a little bit later, and also high availability. So we'll also look at, compare and compress some data center features and the support options available to you. So this is important for several reasons. Security of your system. I had did a point counterpoint presentation with one of our partners, Secure24, about 3 years ago. I represented an IT director that wanted to remain on-prem, and he represented an IT director that was all about cloud. And the thing that keeps coming up over and over again is security, and people can hack into their system in the cloud, but that's not the case. Our partner Secure24, for instance, has over 60 security professionals. They do nothing but intrusion detection. They face nation attacks. Many of their customers are government entities that are trying to be hacked in by the North Koreans, the Russians, and the Chinese. So their expertise in doing security. And most companies that I talk to, if they have a couple of security people, it'd be a surprise. Most have none, or it's somebody else's job while he has another job. So the security question, I think, is questionable. Another guy said, well, if I could just unplug my computer from the internet and my business will continue to run. That's true too, but will you do it in time? Do you know about it, and is your system already affected? Maybe, maybe not. Stability, cloud infrastructures do tend to be stable because they've been in place for a while, tested. Scalability, I think, is a given. If you need to add another database server or enterprise server, you just call them up and say, we need another server for this purpose, sign the contract and move on. Now the managed providers, it's going to take a little longer than the cloud providers, because the cloud has your credit card and they're just going to start charging you when you start using it, whereas the managed hosting provider is probably going to send you an invoice for it. So it can be a little different depending upon which company you're working with. So scalability, we talked about it, flexible support options, and flexible physical infrastructure and environment changes. I mean, these are all important things, but again, so is cost. If you're a new company and you're looking to just get started, and you're big, and let's say you're faced with a $2 or $3 million or $5 million data center build out, then that cost can be significant to you. You don't have to do that if you go with a cloud solution. But if you already have the data center, let's say it's from years past, and you have a raised floor, you have the air conditioning and cooling, and it's all updated, then the cost comparison between keeping things on premise versus putting it into the cloud is a much different story. ROI on a new business is going to be much easier, or a new business unit is definitely going to be easier, proving that the cloud is a good cost solution. So we have a couple of I've been talking about general categories of data centers: public cloud, private cloud. And this is just a summary of a general category of services that you can get, and basically a matrix between scalability, cost, flexibility, and what they might be best used for. So you can see public cloud may be good for non-sensitive public-facing operations and unpredictable traffic. Private cloud for sensitive business and critical operations, although with the security statement, this has become less and less true. Dedicated servers, you can still put dedicated servers in a cloud solution. So, and when we get to that table I'm going to show you in a few minutes, several of the cloud providers offer dedicated infrastructure. And not to be outdone, but hybrid cloud. Hybrid is kind of like the reality. Several people did, I can't remember if it was Gartner or another one of the marketing research firms did a search to see what would happen if every company in the entire world decided to go onto the cloud today. What would happen? Well, what would happen is it would be impossible. There isn't enough architecture in the cloud right now to handle the entire computing space from on-prem. So it's going to be a slow migration. And hybrid is a partial reality. For instance, you might be looking to do a JD Edwards upgrade and don't want to spend, several $100,000s on new pieces of equipment. So you decide to put your JDE system in the cloud. But does that mean you have to put your email system in the cloud? Maybe you have some other specialty application servers, maybe some custom databases? No, you don't have to. Hybrid is the reality. You can have partially on-prem and partially in the cloud. And then, not to be outdone, but multi-cloud. And that's where maybe you have more than one cloud option. Maybe Amazon is good for one thing, but Azure is another. A good example, Oracle and Microsoft, they both have database products. Oracle Cloud is fantastic for Oracle database solutions, but is it the best option for a SQL Server database? Well, it might be, depends on what your goal is, but one would also consider looking at Azure because it's a Microsoft product. So, and just as Oracle can roll in database costs into their cloud, Microsoft can do it with their cloud. So I think Oracle and Microsoft actually have a slight advantage in terms of being in the driver's seat. And the driver's seat is that they own the software solutions that companies are using. I'd say 75, maybe even higher, maybe 85% of the world is using Microsoft Office products for desktop applications. Oracle, on the other hand, has a good chunk of the database work, along with all of their other specialty products. Therefore, they are very well suited for handling their own niche products. Oracle can offer database discounts in their cloud. They can offer, they bought Sun, and they have some bare metal options in their cloud where you can get access to some very high performance database servers, ODA and Exadata, to name a few. So, and this table is, somewhat is a GSI opinion. I know you saw our Safe Harbor Act on, comparing scalability, billing, flexibility, and predictable costs. But hybrid cloud and multi-cloud tend to be the good solutions for today. And where multi-cloud would be good for is perhaps you have an Oracle system and you have a SQL Server system. Maybe it doesn't make sense to put them on the same cloud. Also, for backup purposes, you might want to use Cloud A to back up to Cloud B. So there can be some, you don't necessarily have to be married to a single cloud provider, which is what most people think. No, you don't. You can have multiple, and you can combine it with on-prem for a good hybrid solution. Now, we did a study of physical data centers too. Where are all these data centers located? And I didn't have time to fill out the table for all the data centers for AWS and Azure because they're global. Same thing with Oracle. They are, they've got this beautiful data center, and it's a green data center in Utah and Texas, powered by windmills. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous data center. I've been to the data centers at Secure 24 and PCM, a couple of their locations. They're also very sophisticated. Secure 24's data center in Las Vegas is on the Switch site, and it's armed guards. I think it's considered Tier 4. So there are some restrictions and things we wanted to mention, like the ability to own your own hardware. Well, PCM has full support, but the others, if you try to take some of your existing equipment and co-locate it at AWS, you very well could have an issue. So same thing with private cages and your equipment. The one down the bottom, Oracle hardware is an option. The reason why I put that in there is because there are some specialty equipment for JD Edwards where the database appliance just simply runs faster. And Secure 24 has a private cloud appliance that you can put some of your Oracle workloads on, and Oracle as well. They have Exadata options, I think they call it, and they also have an extreme edition of the database. And things just run really fast on JD Edwards on Oracle hardware runs fast. So we built a table entry for that. So another problem, most of the WAN options are the same in multiple network providers, not too different, although Oracle and has had some limitations with where you can have, we've encountered where you have issues with where your drops can be, and in some cases it's required some specialty cross connects from one part of the city to another. So you have to be careful. Check out your, when you are moving to the cloud, ask those questions like where's our drop point? Where am I going to be connecting in? What service provider can I use? Because not everything is available to you. Highly available architecture, they all do it. This ability to migrate existing VMs can be an issue. If you're at a hosting facility now and want to move to a different hosting facility, you're going to find yourself in a jam. The reason why you'll find yourself in the jam is because your current provider has proprietary things installed on it. They have proprietary monitoring. They have, if you're sitting at like a hosted option. So you have to be really careful about your ability to get your VM. PCM is really good about it. Oracle Cloud's not too bad. They have Ravello, and they're all limited in their capabilities to do that. So you may be faced, if it's sitting at your own data center, lift and shift is a lot easier. If you're sitting in another data center, depending upon whether you own the VM images or not, will make a big difference. Certified data centers, very important. I compared all of these, and the one I think that had the most certifications was Azure. They simply had, they've got a whole page on it, 50 or 60 certifications. I just put a few on here. But keep in mind, all of these, the SAEs and accounting standard, HIPAA for HR, PCI for credit cards, they all have the PCI DSS for credit card, ITIL for good procedures and policies. Most of the cloud providers have FedRAMP as well, which is a government requirement. Just, some of them are DoD, AWS, and Azure. I think Oracle Cloud does, but I couldn't find it actually spelled out. But AWS and Azure have DoD and ITAR certifications as well. So understand your business before you ask questions, but chances are they're all going to have the required certifications. So here's support options. What is available to you? ITIL based. In the cloud providers, a lot of the capabilities and what you have depends on what you buy as well. PCM and Secure 24, they're going to have ITIL based processing, as does GSI. We are an ITIL certified company. We follow good processes. We use ServiceNow for our ticket system. It follows ITIL best practices. We integrate with Secure 24 and PCM, their ServiceNow systems. Monitoring, you have to be careful. Secure 24 and PCM do complete infrastructure monitoring. Oracle, Amazon, and Azure, mostly at the PaaS layer. Like if you get Oracle's DBaaS solution, database, you'll get their monitoring, but you won't necessarily get the operating system level monitoring. So you have to watch what you get and what you get by default. Like a service might not be readily available if you try to put your credit card in and start, consuming resources and provisioning services, but that doesn't mean it isn't available. You'll have to ask. They all have SLA-based infrastructure. They all list 3 nines for uptime, 99.999% uptime. They all have reactive help desk, reactive support. But the question is does your company need outsourcing for the help desk? Some of our clients do. They want us to do the help desk for them. That's available with Secure 24 PCM, but not Oracle Cloud, Azure, and Amazon, but you could outsource that with GSI. Another thing that is really tricky and a thing to keep in mind is understanding what your RTO and RPO is and what are the backup options and retentions. It gets a little trickier in the cloud because not necessarily everybody has tape. The hosted providers, PCM, Secure 24, do have tape options. PCM can archive up to 7 years and take tapes off site to Iron Mountain. Those options are going to be harder to locate and find in the cloud providers. Can you find it? Yes. Do you have to find a third party to provide it? You might. So also looking at the RTO and RPO, what's available for you. At first, Oracle's new to this game. I couldn't even get anybody to tell me what the RTOs and RPOs were, but they do now. And you can get good RTO times out of the cloud providers, but for sure you can get great RTO out of your hosted providers. That's their job. Managed services monitoring for on-premise infrastructure. That would be if you wanted to extend the support capabilities of the provider to things you have now. And PCM actually offers that, but none of the others do. We've integrated with Secure 24 and PCM's managed services. I mentioned that earlier. Single pane of glass for infrastructure monitoring. GSI and PCM have fully integrated their systems, and it's seamless. For the monitoring of both the operating system and architecture level, but also the application layer, the enterprise one. One of the other things that becomes a trick when you are trying to move to the cloud, if it's the first time, is you have to figure out who's going to do what for you. Are you going to pick up and move the data yourself? Who's going to do the sizing for you? And I know that many providers like Oracle, they don't do sizing. PCM will do sizing for you, and so will Secure 24. I should under here Secure 24 system sizing. GSI and Secure 24 work together to do sizing together, and somewhat the same for PCM, but they will help. Who does the pricing? Secure 24 and PCM, you could have us do it for you, but we could also get it directly. And GSI we're partners with Oracle Cloud, Amazon, and Azure. Who owns the contract for hosting? And it depends. If you're with Secure 24, you'll have two contracts, Secure 24 and GSI moving forward. PCM, you can do a contract under us. Same thing with Oracle, Amazon, and Azure. You can either do them separately or together. The next big question is who's going to set up the network and provision all of the servers? Let's say you got 100 servers. Who's going to install them and set them up? That's a big question. Don't neglect that when you're planning your migration, and because somebody's got to set them up. The hosted providers, Secure 24 and PCM, they include that. That's their job when you contract with them. In the Oracle Cloud, AWS or Azure, not so fast. They don't do that. By default, you are responsible for doing that yourself and or getting a provider. OS level monitoring management, same thing. Secure 24 PCM do the OS level monitoring, not us, but Oracle Cloud, Amazon, and Azure by default does not do it. So you need somebody to do it for you. You could do it yourself. You could have us do it. Same thing with the application. So you're just moving to the cloud. Who's going to install JD Edwards or eBusiness or PeopleSoft? None of these companies have a ton of experience. Some do, like Secure 24. If you had Hyperion, they could get it installed for you. But GSI can do the JD Edwards installation and configuration. In addition, none of these folks have application level monitoring around JD Edwards, but GSI has its Genius product that we mentioned earlier. So I want to just take a few minutes and talk about a couple of our partners that we work with in selecting the right system for your ERP system. PCM is a partner of ours. We mentioned they're a public company, formerly known as the PC Mall. Those of you that have been around a while might remember a couple years back, you got a lot of flyers in the late 80s, early 90s from PC Mall. So they're a public company, big company. They're in 50 locations. They have, they have over 4,000 or 3,800 employees. And here's some of their data centers where they're located. Their primary data centers are located in outside of Columbus, Ohio, Roswell, Georgia, and then they have another facility in California. But they are located globally. They have a big data center in the UK now, and they're partnering with Microsoft for some Azure hosting in places that they normally only would have, like a let's say they have a company that's primarily in the US, but they have a division in Germany. Let's say they would partner with a company in Germany for a data center, because the Europeans do have some data ownership issues. You can't. There's certain kinds of data that can't reside anywhere. They have to reside in the country on a computer sitting in that country. So they've done that as well. Also, if you have an iSeries system, if you're here to want to discuss iSeries, there aren't that as many companies that do iSeries hosting. So, but PCM does do 24/7. They have over 24 years of experience doing this. IBM does it. I know of a couple of other companies, MindGate, and there's a company in the Netherlands that does it, and they have complete LPAR support for you, hosting, system upgrades, and monitoring. So I mentioned earlier that their solution is complementary to GSI's. They are ITIL based, and so are we, and we follow a common core guideline. Something you need to think about is when you're looking at a hosting solution provider, if you go with a company that has standards, you're going to get very organized standard service, and I think that's a good thing for making sure that if you call in and your service level requirements are going to be met. And we do have another webcast that we do 10 questions to ask before moving to the cloud. It's recorded. You can go back to a previous recording from, I think we did it a month ago, but that one didn't get recorded, but go back to the end of December sometime, and we do have it recorded there. So I mentioned that we are integrated, and this is how we integrate with the client in our support team. We link our ServiceNow offerings into the PCM cloud for monitoring. Another partner of ours, and GSI has been partners with PCM for about 4 years now. Secure24 we've been partners with since 2009. So we've been working in the cloud with them for over nine years. They were just bought by NTT. Their corporate headquarters is located in Southfield, Michigan. They have data centers. They have data centers in one in Michigan, in Plymouth, Michigan, one in Nevada, in Las Vegas, and then one in India as well. They've been around since 2001, have over 5,000 employees. Really good place to work for. Very sophisticated data centers. They do more than just JD Edwards. They do Hyperion, SAP, PeopleSoft, and eBusiness as well. Good company culture. Good company to work for. I had dinner with the CEO of Secure24 a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about security in the cloud and compliance standards. And Secure24 has over 60 security resources on staff, and as I mentioned, they've undergone attacks from foreign countries, and they're really good. They have all kinds of compliance standards, which we mentioned about it before. ITIL, COBIT are the foundation for it, but others can be as well. FDA, if you're a drug company or a food company. HIPAA, always good. I think just about every company is subject to some kind of HIPAA requirement now, unless you're one person of one. ITAR, if you have foreign nationals, and these are all important, can be important to you depending upon what type of company you are. So these are just some of the different support options that Secure 24 offers at the various layers, the service platforms, OS level, database, enterprise apps as well. And we mentioned their data center primarily in Michigan, but they have them all over the United States. Tier 4 data center in Michigan, Las Vegas. I think Michigan is tier 3, but I'm not positive. It could be tier 4. So this is an interesting map, and it applies to everybody, but the folks from Secure 24 provided it to us, so I wanted to give them credit where it's due. And this is kind of something to think about when you're looking at what would be a good place for a data center. And you can see along the East Coast here from southern Texas all the way up through Maine here all in Florida is a hurricane alley. May not be the best place to have a data center knowing you're going to get hit by a hurricane. Also, tornadoes here in the Midwest, Kansas, in that area, earthquakes along the West Coast. So in looking at this, where's the ideal place to have a data center? Well, how about Ohio, Michigan, even Chicago? Not too bad, although it's a little bit on, they can get some flooding, some tornadoes in through there. And also here, it's moderate risk here in the Midwest, not so bad. So this is a really good sign. If you're looking to plan out, even mid-Texas has got some good places. Dallas isn't all that bad of a spot for a data center. So Secure 24 is really good. We did a big, we migrated a 5,000 user JD Edwards system in 6 weeks. Now that's execution time. Planning took a lot longer than that, about 6 months to do the plan, but was also 30 business units, and we did some big projects together to bring people to the cloud. So we talked about their services, so we'll just move on. Just wanted to show that they do have a methodology for migrating, and all of them do. PCM does, GSI has a plan as well, and we help build the plan. Now, one thing to understand, and this is just kind of like a summary of the recommendations. All options offer strong offerings for straight IaaS, infrastructure as a service. All of them offer that. Secure 24 and PCM are managed hosting providers, and therefore you pay a little more, but you get a lot. You get their experts, you get their security experts, you get their DR capability. You don't have to figure out DR on your own or subcontract with the company. They just take care of it for you. And that can be very comforting for some people. Oracle's public cloud is in Amazon and Azure. They're cheapest, and they're reflective of commodity IaaS as pricing. And that's a key. Is there is getting equipment. It is commodity. That's unfortunate reality nowadays. Putting it in the cloud is a choice for many solutions for on-prem software. Now, of course, if SaaS wins this war, there's no need for hosting, because if all the applications are running in the cloud, you're not going to need your own. You'll need a bunch of desktops and iPads and other type of equipment, but you won't need your own servers. PCM tends to be a little lower cost than Secure 24 for similar type hosting services. PCM has a pretty good RPO and RTO, good single pane of glass, very good support for on-premise equipment. So if you not only want help in the cloud, but want people to help manage your on-premise equipment, they can take that as well. So GSI is also an MSP, an Oracle MSP provider. So what does that mean? What Oracle did is they bought Sun. Let's just say what it is. They put a lot of the Sun equipment into data centers and are running their cloud on it. They bought some companies. They're building some services. They're Oracle's cloud headquarters is in Seattle, Washington. They took some of the best folks from Azure and Amazon to help build it. What they said is that we went to these guys and said, okay, you came from Amazon, you came from Microsoft, what did you do right and what did you do wrong? So let's only do what you did right and improve upon it. And that's what they did. So basically they break down their IaaS into three components: the compute, networking, and storage. And you're going to find the same of Azure and AWS. Very similar. They all are hypervisor driven. You can choose, there's some good options for moving databases back and forth that don't exist elsewhere. For instance, you can migrate a database from an Oracle database from on-premise to the cloud with the click of a button, but you can also move it back. And that's the really nice thing. It's a click of a button after you can figure out the connection string. So what you get from Oracle is and Amazon and Azure is low cost compute space, elastic compute space, the ability to scale. So what you don't get though is IaaS services. So hold on, let me go back up. Okay, so what ends up happening is GSI has what we call our Cloud 9 offering, and we can extend the support of what's lacking from the Oracle Cloud. We can set up DR for you. We can manage we can do the provisioning of machines for you. We can do the patching and the same thing with our other providers. So here's some of the choices. GSI does prefer the bare metal solution from Oracle, the Oracle Classic interface. It's a different hypervisor, so they have two hypervisors. Microsoft made the same mistake 3 years ago. They went with a hypervisor that wasn't all that flexible and usable, so they have a classic architecture as well. And in the US, Oracle is basically winding down their classic and going to bare metal, which is a much more rock solid solution. In Europe, though, you have to stick with their classic. So Revelo is the tool that Oracle provides to migrate VMs to and from on-premise. So it's basically Revelo is the lift and shift option. Allows you to pick up a VM, and you can go from a Microsoft, or excuse me, not a Microsoft, a VMware image or a KVM to the Oracle Cloud. And that can help you with your deployment times. If you can pick up a VM and move it, it's a lot easier than if you have to build and migrate. Just keep that in mind. Whatever solution you have, if you can pick up the VM image and move it to the cloud via a tool like Revelo or one of the others, you're going to save yourself at least 40 to 60% in time and cost reduction. So Oracle has some fast connects. Of course, VPN is what many people start out with. Then they have basically their Fast Connect and their Fast Connect Enterprise, which is just basically MPLS, point to point. And then you can they also have their network bonding for multi-site clients. So this is just basically a description of some of their storage options. Oracle has optimized their backups, archives. Everything that in the Oracle Cloud is flash. There is no other option. You cannot go with physical disk, and I don't think you'd want to, especially for your database solution. There are times when you would want to go with physical disk, and it would be for cost only. If you had data that you need instant access to, but you don't need it very often and performance does not matter, then physical disk is okay. But for most enterprise applications, it's not okay. So I mentioned GSI's Cloud 9 offering. Basically, you got your cloud servers and you got the hardware and software maintenance with your provider, and we handle a lot of the DR and HA solutions for you. We put in our Genius We have our service-aware monitoring. We have our Genius Advanced Monitoring and Analytics. We have a webcast on that, so I won't go into it. Same thing with Genesis. It's basically your stress testing and load testing solution, and also can be used for, in certain instances, regression testing as well. Service-aware monitoring, keeping track of all of your events coming from everywhere, storage, network, application and infrastructure, and you get thousands based, and this is our service-aware monitoring architecture. So one thing that you do get with our Cloud9, we send out monthly reports. This comes out monthly, or you could click on it and get this a rolling 30 days. So it's just a part of our cloud offering. In addition, we toss in our G Shield authentication. It's a two-factor authentication into JD Edwards, and it's compatible with JD Edwards. So this is just some of our Cloud9, our Genesis load testing, stress testing, just a lot of graphics available to you. So what we do, the way this works for us is, not for us, for you, if you wish to go to the cloud, is we migrate to GSI's cloud. We put your equipment in the cloud infrastructure. We provision the network and the servers, and then we basically go through a process of either restoring or rebuilding the system. We'll restore data backups for sure, because you gotta have your data, and also the ability to scale locations and users is there as well. So we go through an onboarding process with you, where we introduce you to our cloud team, our managed service team. We have meetings to talk about it. We make run books. We establish call numbers, 911 line, 24/7, 365 operations center that you have access to. So with that, that's Joanne. That's all I have.
All right, John, thank you so much. I will go ahead and take back control. We're going to move to the Q&A section in just a minute. So I'd like to encourage you to go ahead and submit your questions now, if you have them. And let's see, can you see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So today's webcast is part of our ongoing educational webcast series. And I have the list of upcoming webcasts on the slide for you now. And in order to register, you can just go out to www.getgsi.com. In addition to our webinars, we offer several other free educational resources, including the GSI Insider, which is our monthly newsletter. We cover everything from tips and tricks for users of specific applications to articles on current hot topics in technology. We also have a resource center that's a great place to find educational content, including recordings of our webinars, which John mentioned earlier, as well as case studies, white papers, and a lot more. We also host educational workshops around the country. Most recently, we've held workshops on migrating to the cloud and upgrading to JD Edwards 9.2. In order to access any of these resources or to find out some more information, please go out to www.getgsi.com. Let's see, and with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the Q&A session. There are a couple questions that came in, but again, I encourage you to send those through the console now. So the first question is from Pat, and it says, you went over a lot of choices for hosting. We are on iSeries. Can we host that?
That's a really good question. The answer to it is yes, but you're limited. You're not going to get a pure cloud solution in that case. You're going to have to go to a managed provider, because they're going to have to make a big investment in iSeries and start sharing out LPARs. In the options we discussed, PCM is the only one that could host iSeries. That said, they're a very good company. They do a fantastic job of supporting iSeries, and it's a good option.
Okay, excellent. The next question is from Kathy. Does GSI own the hardware for their Cloud9 offering?
That's a really good question, and the answer to that is no. At this point, GSI does not own the hardware. It's owned by our partners: PCM, Secure24, Oracle, Amazon, and Microsoft.
Okay. Let's see, and it looks like we have a question from Robert, and it just says, is GSA partners with all of these different cloud companies?
Yeah, another good question. Yes, we are certified MSP with Oracle, Azure, and we're getting the process of Microsoft, and PCM and Secure24 don't really have certification processes, but we are partners with them. Okay.
All right, let's see, and I don't see any more questions at this time. So I'll just go over the last little bit. If anything else comes through, we can go ahead and revisit. But we do ask that after the webcast, you fill out the brief survey. It takes about a minute. If you do fill that out, you go in a drawing to win a $25 Amazon gift card. Also, you will receive an email with the link to our resource center where you can access a recording from today's webcast, as well as a PDF copy of the presentation. If you had any questions that you didn't want to submit, or if you just wanted to kind of get on the phone and speak with a subject matter expert, please feel free to reach out to either John or myself. Our contact information is on the screen for you now. We'd be more than happy to go ahead and set that up for anyone who's interested in exploring, these different cloud options. Well, that looks like the end of the questions. John, was there anything else you wanted to leave with?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Again, thanks for a great presentation, John, and we hope to see the rest of you on another webcast in the near future. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.